Wait. All right. Let's boogie. Chad from Whit Gate. Thanks so much for having a chat.
Thanks for
Uh,
having me.
I'm really excited to taste your wines. Should we crack on with one in particular? Is it
Yeah,
bartender?
maybe go Otto first.
Oh no,
You look like you've lined them up pretty well. Yeah, go
this one.
pink wax. Yeah, that one there.
Fantastic. Alrighty, so we got 22 Grenache Mataro Cabernet. New age wine with old age values. Terroir expressive, enjoyable juice.
Yeah.
I like that.
So yeah, it's a nice touch on sort of um terroir, which is important for wine, I feel, but still want to maybe, detach from the stigma of wine being up on a pedestal a bit here and have some fun with it, hence the sort of juice comment. So yeah, we're pretty site focused with what we do, which I think is important for, small batch wines like these. However, making wines that are, approachable, accessible, and fun is important, because that's what wine's all about, I think.
Whew. All right, so I'm just going to read this. A blend of whole bunch Grenache, 60%, with whole berry Mataro, 26%, Cabernet, 14, wild yeast, basket pressed to seasoned French oak, bottled early to maintain freshness, unfiltered, unfined. So, like, as a wine buyer and someone who reps for wine buyers and helps connect people, that is all the information that I want from a wine
Yeah.
label. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many
Perfect.
labels I read, and it's like rolling hills and elegant, blah, blah, like all these adjectives. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can just go and read those adjectives. I don't need them on my wine bottle.
Yeah, certainly. No, just to the point.
Oh man. Oh, I had to say as well, soft wax, huge tick.
Mm.
When
Yeah, it's cool. Hey, just
you crunch into the wax and it goes everywhere and it goes into your wine, and you're like, come on, man.
crumbles.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
Ah, that's delightful.
Yeah, I a bit of an obscure blend here, but just really love it. I think what Grenache gives, especially with a lot of whole bunch, is just such a bursting sort of floral nose, which is always really lovely, and lots of like raspberry and sort of red cherries, which is all great and which is beautiful on its own. Then you sort of pair things with Mataro, which is like the sort of the yin to the yang there. It's like the grip, the crunch,
Mm.
the gnarliness there.
Mm.
Those together, I feel sort of are a bit of a match made in heaven. I suppose maybe hence why there's GSM blends and stuff like that running around. It probably makes a bit of sense with those varietals. So similar-ish concept. Just having the Cabernet there to sort of probably lift the wine. We do Cabernet very early pick, a lot of whole berry, 100% whole berry, minimal punch down. So a lot of sort of intracellular ferment happening there, and that paired with the wine gives it a nice sort of floral lift. So only a tiny touch of cab, but seemed to work quite well.
Because that for me, Grenache for me is like a big spectrum. You know,
Yep.
like you've got
Yeah, huge.
yeah, you got like hit it really hard, pick it late, hit it with
Mm.
New York, and you've got these like big boys.
Yep.
Loving this new style that's a little bit more reserved.
Oh,
Way,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
When you
It's
say
such a pretty variety.
like
Sorry.
punch downs,
Yep.
does that create a little crust or a little floor?
No, so you get your typical cap, no floor, and I think you get a typical cap. I'll do enough with it to keep it moist, so still maintaining its health as such, the ferment's health. I just will basically just keep the cap moist morning and night, and then that's it. But I won't sort of heavily plunge it. I'll just be as soft as possible. Sometimes literally do it by hand if I don't I don't use a plunger. I'll sometimes put my arms in it. Gives you a bit of a, weird as it is, gives you a bit of a nice idea on warm pockets in a ferment, because they are quite strange. It's not sort of all warm at times, and you sort of move the wine around, you just, I don't know, get a feel of it, but just sort of really soft with them, because we're not after any major extraction from any of our wines, really. So yeah.
Mm. That's gorgeous. And the color isn't showing up great on Zoom, but that is a brilliant, like, like it's got clarity, but it's got a radiance to it that's kind of like shining in on itself. That for me, I'm like, oh, that's gonna be juicy, you know.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but it's not giving me leather and wood and tobacco and stuff. It's like, oh,
No,
this is gonna be like some spice and some fruit and some zing.
yeah, yeah, certainly. Yeah, we naturally get pretty good extraction with minimal work here in the Barossa. So color's never really a problem, especially through some of the wines we'll look at towards the end. But the body can still be quite light and not sort of represent the color as such. And so yeah, so you get a bit of that through this wine. Grenache is a little bit lighter, but Syrah and Curio will seem a lot more dense in the glass, but they're sort of pleasantly light when you do taste them. So
Yeah, that's gorgeous. And I have to clock that we're tasting all reds.
yep.
Is that a deliberate decision from you? You like this is
Yeah, just we do so spring autumn release. Spring release is like sold out. Autumn release we sort of typically release this line of these wines, I guess, fit for a colder period. So it just suits what we're drinking at the time. And it sort of suits the life of our wine too. So these guys went into bottle just before vintage to free up some oak. Wines tend to be looking pretty smart from what I've seen the last few years around that period. So, and then it just makes sense to sort of release these wines when things start to get a bit cooler, because that's when people realistically will be drinking probably these four first two. So Otto, Grenache, we've got wines that you could drink in the middle of summer as well. Syrah and Curio, people will still drink them when it's warm, but I definitely can see a time where you would crack those on a nice cold afternoon, and they would be well suited. Yeah, yep. So
yeah, nice one. I'm fascinated by like the seasonal releases and getting that right as a winemaker and like making those calls right. I think yeah, you've nailed this, like giving a little spread, different variety mix, but like keeping it coherent as a collection.
certainly, yeah. And a lot of style shines through, I think, on each wine. There's a lot of, pretty much winemaking procedure is very similar across the board. Some will get stems out, so some will de-stem but leave whole berry. Some will utilize stem, but yeah, as far as style goes, they're all made in a very similar way. And I think it's nice to have that sort of like our style of what we're doing, and that shows through the different varieties that we play with.
Yeah.
Which it just, I don't know, it's sort of cool. And then you let those varieties speak. Yeah, they've got a lot of expression. Mataro for one, it's Mataro when it's not sort of hidden by oak and other things like that. You can really see what they've got, like their own personality almost. So putting together little blends is really fun. Like Otto and like Curio is really fun, because you can really pick those layers up in the wine. And yeah, I think it's a cool way that I think they're gaining a bit of traction as well. Blends now, they're not sort of seen as, little parcels of stuff that's, left over that they've just put together and sold as a red blend. Now people are actually doing them with purpose and picking sort of good fruit from good sites and combining to get some nice layers through their wine. So yeah, it's kind of cool.
Well, that's a really good segue into, you were saying like your style, and you can see the style, like your style throughout each bottle. Just while I open up the next one, where did that come from? Who did you clock doing that and go,
style wise?
That's me, baby.
Yeah, I've picked up a few bits and pieces from. I've never actually worked at a winery or worked with or anyone in wine as such before starting Whit Gate at all. Yeah, so I've had a few great influences, like Johnny from Alkina is a great man. We talk a lot about wine.
And they're 100% biodynamic at this point, are they?
Yeah. So the Grenache from Otto just there was from Alkina. Yeah. Sorry, the other one from Otto, the Grenache portion that we just tasted. Yep. So that's their fruit. The Mataro in that is also from Alkina. So work with some of their plantings, which is really good, because what they're doing in the Barossa is sort of pretty incredible. And yeah, they're great people. So they've been a good influence. I don't know, listen to a lot of podcasts from people in Burgundy and places like that on especially crafting Syrah, trying to work with a lot of philosophy out of different region to sort of to see what it's capable of here. Just sort of networking and chatting, really.
It's kind of blue skies, open ocean. I kind of feel like
Yeah.
Australian winemaking at the moment. We've like successfully shed off a lot of stigma of like, have you heard the term critter wine?
No, I haven't. No.
So like I was reading about, I didn't know about this because like I don't live in Europe or America, but like they were that
Yeah.
in the 80s and 90s, they would talk about Australian wine as critter wine because they all
Right.
had an animal on the front label and they were all pretty shit. So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
there's all the
Yeah.
yellow tails and
Yeah.
the
Yeah. True. Yeah. That's a
uh,
great. That's a great one. That's
yeah,
a one.
yeah.
A
Andre
friend of mine has.
Mack, you know Andre Mack, this awesome.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think he was the first like African American master som in the like ever in history,
Yep.
and he's an absolute boss. And yeah, he was doing this YouTube thing where he was going through different things, and he was like, "Critter wine, you would know this
Yeah.
as Australian wine," and I was like, "Wait, what?"
What do you mean? Never. Yeah. That's
Were we
great though.
laughed at? Nah, we were being laughed at.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm pouring. This is the old vine Grenache.
Yep.
Beautiful.
This
New
is
old age values, terroir expressive, enjoyable juice. Hand harvested 90-year-old vines, 70% whole bunch, wild yeast, basket pressed, seasoned oak. Oh, puncheons, this one.
yeah, in some larger format. Yep.
Yeah. Bottled early to maintain freshness, unfiltered, unfined. Hell yeah. Again,
Yeah. So this
exactly what I want from the label.
clear, concise. This is definitely the baby of the wines, and probably its best representation yet since picking up this vineyard. So we sort of look after it, prune it, shoot thin it, sometimes bunch thin, lease it, I guess. And yeah, it's exciting. It's very small. But it's beautiful. 90 years, real gnarly plants as they get when they get that old and sort of eaten from the outside in type thing. However, we get sort of good fruit concentration really early in the growing sort of cycle. So what we're after with Grenache, and what I love from Grenache is getting the fruit, maintaining the acid, and being able to pick quite early. So then what I'm trying to achieve with this wine is like very light, pretty, floral. Sort of, if you tasted it blind, you wouldn't know that it's from the Barossa Valley sometimes. In comparison to those bigger Grenaches that you see getting around here, because we just have the ability to ripen that fruit to 15, 16 Beaume, and people will do that to sort of get a pretty big beast. But this is definitely right down the other end of that spectrum.
And what's the block like for 90 years old? And it's time, and you said it's a small block.
It is, yeah. So the Semillon that we pick is on the front of the block, Grenache behind it. Some rows have Semillon scattered through it. It's a kind of a bit fruit salady sort of thing. It's beautiful. It's, I don't know, fascinating that you can just walk through them 1,000 times, see something new every time. They're just, when they're that old, I don't know, I find them pretty interesting. How they still maintain growth is insane, because the trunks are split. They look like they're dead. And then all of a sudden you've got, even the canopy, looks sort of uneven. And I'm thinking this particular year, and I'm thinking, oh, geez, okay. And then I went back 2 weeks later and it was consistent the whole way through. All the bunches were ripe and consistent the whole way through. And I'm thinking, Jesus, fascinating plant. So they're just quirky, I guess. They're not, they're all that consistency that you see in these big yield vineyards where they're hedged and everything. All the consistency is just, it's not there. It's sometimes, you prune it for consistency, but they've just got their own quirks, that's for sure. So they're pretty cool.
Fascinating to know how deep they go and like what's happening underneath, because like 90 years.
Yeah, it's epic. He's actually ripped a few of them out because he put a shed there, unfortunately. So I've sort of lost a bit of it. But root systems were huge. It's just they're pretty resilient beasts. So
I met this couple.
Really cool.
They live in Amsterdam, but they were like New York Soms. You might have seen them kicking around. Their brand is called An Approach to Relaxation.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I haven't seen it though, but that's good name.
But they just got one block, and it's in the Barossa, and it's got Grenache on it. And
Really?
yeah, I think it's only about 80 years old though.
Right. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
completely forgotten. So it was like behind a hedge, and they were like, they found it, and like all the fences had fallen over, and there was like the things had just gone wild for a couple of years, well, a couple of decades probably. And they literally just come over twice a year and just take fruit. And it's like this. It's not as refined as this, but it's like pretty and delicate, and they just do nothing to it. And it's got to be the age, right?
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah. Yeah. They're resilient.
yeah.
Even years where we have sort of big disease pressure, like we did this, well, not big disease pressure, but for the Barossa, probably a bit more disease pressure than we typically see. It's typically pretty dry. Um, this vineyard's not even like, it's not sprayed. It's just completely no inputs whatsoever. And yeah, like we didn't have any botrytis. Grenache is pretty susceptible to botrytis. Botrytis, like very thin skinned. The bunch is packed quite tightly as well, and it was pretty wet. And walking through, and I was hearing horror stories. I'm thinking, oh, this thing, like, we might be in a bit of trouble here, but no dramas whatsoever. So I think, yeah, with age, resilience, having not been sprayed for so long as well, there is sort of, I don't know, it's very uncharted waters, but there is a chance that we start building up better resilience to things like botrytis. However, proof's in the pudding, I guess, and it's gone really well this year. So very, very happy, and yeah, I don't know, humbled to be working with something so old. It's sort of pretty cool. There's not heaps of them around. There's a few in the Barossa. We're pretty blessed, but they're very hard to get your sort of hands on a bit of a fruit allocation from the stuff that's this old. So
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
yeah, it's good fun.
Yeah. It's the old, just like visiting people in the middle of the night. It's this sort of threatening little, get your hands up
Yeah,
my
yeah,
fruit. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah, it gets yeah. People get pretty competitive over them. So yeah, Johnny from Arkeen actually gave me the contact, so I sort of should. So for the chap that owns this mark. So yeah, pretty lucky to just be in the right place at the right time and sneak in.
there's a density in the center of it, like a little chewy meatiness that I'm loving, because it is pretty and it is floral, but there's like this
Yeah.
it's not light. I wouldn't call it like watery or thin or anything like that. Like it has this like little chewy center.
Yep. No, I get like a nice savory sort of mid palate, and I don't know. I like the stems at 70% whole bunch. You get that nice stems integration, slight crunch, and I feel like the tannin here is sort of really fine and chalky, and it just feels it's just a nice sort of rounded wine without being too bold and big and everything jumping at you. I think all of those sort of flavors that you're feeling are quite mild, but they're there, and they all complement each other at the moment. So
Yeah, the tannin
yeah,
and
this
acid finish is quite nice. Kind of ebbs
yeah,
and flows a little bit and gives you a little linger. That's awesome. And so, just while I open up the next one, so you got to where you are without training with anyone.
yeah. So I studied at Charles Sturt, so I was doing a bit
Yeah.
of formal education, but yeah, I sort of was in a different career, working in a different industry, and had built up a career in a completely different industry. And I mean, I could have sort of just left and gone down vintage, but I was pretty happy where I was, and I sort of wanted to work with wine. So a friend of mine had a vineyard in the Barossa Valley sort of floor, and he just sort of said, oh, well, you can grab a ton off me if you want and start making it. So we did, and things went pretty well at the start, and we sort of thought, well, let's sort of give this a bit of a go formally, and then away we went. So we just started quite small, and yeah, what are we, 4 years on, things going, like we were able to grow production to what it is now. So yeah, it's been a good fun ride, a lot of learning, a hell of a lot of learning, and a lot of phone calls to friends, but no, it's been a fantastic ride. I think like especially with the Semillon Amphora Semillon, obviously developing a bit of a floor and bits and pieces like that, when everything you sort of learn at university tells you to get a bit worried when you see that. And then I'm ringing a friend, he's like, mate, perfect, like just trust the process. And this vintage, much better at trusting the process. You sort of freak out a lot at times, but when you sort of start understanding what things are like at certain times, and you know, knowing the science is good, and you sort of know how far you can walk the line without intervention as such. So it's been good, and how to sort of, you know, naturally play with ferment to sort of to get rid of anything that's not what you want in a ferment. There's sort of things that you can do, and, you know, just using heat of the day, you know, moving something out of the winery into the sun to just get things roaring a bit quicker, and just little bits and pieces like that. It's just things I suppose you pick up as you sort of tick away over the years. So yeah, it's been a bit of a ride, bit of a journey, but it's been great fun and nice quick way to learn, just getting stuck straight into it. So
Yeah.
but yeah, never have worked at a winery. It'd be funny. So for the other half of what I do, we work at a lot of wineries, so I sort of see what they're doing pretty often, and a lot of it's pretty different to how we sort of make wine. But
It's the disparity between like what you're doing and what 90% of people doing. It's huge, isn't it?
oh, just such a different scale. There's some just juggernauts out here in the process that make wine on just such a different scale. Which is great for them. It's a different commodity. But gee whiz, it's just a different beast to sort of coordinate.
And you're sitting there with the board of all the readouts of all the like scientific shit that's going on in your silo-sized ferment tank.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, and
It's dumping up kilos of sulfur into it.
Absolutely, yeah. Some of those fixed lines are pretty hard to clean, so you got to bomb it, I guess. But yeah, they're just out. They're fighting a different battle, that's for sure. So.
Oh, nice. All right, let's crack on. Should we do Syrah?
Yep.
Or Curio?
Yeah, go Syrah.
Go Syrah?
Could sort of do one or the other. Yeah. So this guy here is Barossa Valley floor. So cracking like black clay that it gets picked off, which is quite dense, and the color you'll see is quite sort of dense in the glass. Made much the same. Yeah, it looks scary.
Yeah, I hope
looks like it might be a
piece. Yeah. Damn. I love that.
Yes.
All right, straight up, Syrah, Shiraz. What's your stance?
So this I call Syrah because what I'm chasing with this wine, and I feel like it'll be a never-ending chase, is something that represents wines internationally. Just wants to sort of find the balance between stems inclusion, pick time, acid, what we can, how early we can pick without things looking too green, but we want some greenness and crunch in the wine. This wine here was pushing the boundaries this year of what I thought we could do with this vineyard. It's a nut. Just it not looking too green. So you just want that fruit concentration to be up, just to sort of warn off any of those really sort of green characters in the finished wine, especially with Syrah can get pretty gnarly. This has definitely got some serious crunch. Yeah.
But
it's got some
it's like a raw oiliness. It's like I just cracked that 1 minute ago, and it smells balanced. Like it smells, can't smell balance, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it doesn't sort of smell too funky or anything, but it I get like a real licoricey sort of nose, almost a little bit of aniseed style nose, and like plum blackcurranty sort of vibe happening there from the fruit. But yeah, alcohol here, what are we? 13.4. So I think it was picked in the 12s. It picked in the 12s. It sort of fermented up a bit. But yeah, looks very dense. Smells quite large, but it's expectedly a little bit light.
That's plush.
Yeah. Mouth feels really cool. Hey,
That's
like
good.
soft, velvety, but then has this like crunch as well to it from the stems. It's
there's like it closes out. It's not soft and way like
flabby. It's not like flabby, I suppose.
correct, flabby. Got that little rounding acid that ties it off. Oh,
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's so different to sort of what I've personally tasted here in regards to Shiraz, I guess.
that's very
Just even like fruit profile wise, it's just very dissimilar to sort of. There's none of that jamminess, and even if people pick a little bit earlier than jamminess, you still get that really sort of like plummy sort of fruit.
heavy
That's sort of like almost very prominent. I feel in a lot of wines. Variety of this in the Barossa because you just get this density to the fruit, but we're sort of off before all that, and you just get this really light fruit, and you get that really light plum vibe to it, but it's sort of got that backing of that licoricey aniseedy sort of palate. It's got that soft plush mouthfeel with that crunch from the stem, and yeah, it's a cool little example of how diverse this wine industry is, I guess, and especially Shiraz and Syrah and the Barossa. It's just you don't have to put everything in a box as such. You can pick things earlier, and all of a sudden you've got a completely different wine. So I think that's sort of the part of winemaking I think is really fascinating is how much diversity a lot of varieties have. You've got your sort of region style as such that gets put across the board, but it's so fascinating to just see what it looks like when it's picked, a lot earlier, what it looks like with an early pick with a heap of bunch and stuff like that. So it's sort of, that's really fascinating about wine, I think.
So if you were gonna pick a wine that this is like modeled after that you love, like you said you were reading Burgundy and like podcasts and articles about Burgundy.
Yeah. Oh,
What?
like don't get me wrong, I don't think it's anything close to the wines so people like Jeremy from Domaine du Jacques and stuff. I listen to a lot of his podcasts speaking on different things and his inclusion of stems and just how fine-tuned they are in regards to like even like chewing the stem to see what it's doing and yeah, it's just they I actually talked to Johnny a lot about it, but they just treat one in a whole different light to sort of what we're accustomed to here in Australia. I think as a whole we're very yield dominant, but their level of how fine-tuned they are is what really fascinates me about wine. And just for us and myself, what I find quite interesting is just taking some of their philosophies in regards to stem inclusion, and which is all variant to sort of season. So we've some years we throw 70% bunch up, which is quite a lot of bunch. Other years, we might not get any lignification on the stem. It might be very green, so we'll pull back a bit, or we might get, some shatter through the bunch. We might not have a great fruit set year, so then your ratio of berry to like rachis, which is what the berries sit on, is skewed to what it was sort of last year, and you'll go right. Well, I got less berry in this overall pick. I'm going to pull back on the bunch here because I don't want as many stems in the ferment. So just trying to make as smart a decision or as clear decision as you can based on sort of previous years, but manipulating to season, I think is really cool. And that's sort of playing with that and then learning year on year is what is really, really fascinating. Just taking little bits and pieces, little eggs that you hear along the way from, a multitude of different producers helps with that greatly, I think. Yeah, but I'm actually going not to Domaine du Jacques, unfortunately. They were away when I'm going flat, but I'm going to Burgundy in a month. So I'm pretty excited. It's a bit of a dream of mine, so cannot wait. Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
This kind of smacks of sort of the new school Austrians who are using uh, like essentially Blaufränkisch, but like
Yep.
doing their own sort of journey, like we're going through with Shiraz, to being like they don't all have
Yep.
heavy hitters, and like backing off it. So you still get this like really robust tannin profile that doesn't blow your palate away, but it's still very like there and structured and really enjoyable. But then there's this like
Yep.
lift of acid and there's refreshing parts of it and there's great fruit behind it. Man, I'm all about that. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool.
But
It's cool to see
Victorian,
sort of.
oh no,
Sorry.
there you go.
Oh, I said it's amazing to see some change in region like that, and just see different examples of wines that you sort of so typically put in a certain category. It's fascinating to just see some diversity there and see what they can do. So that's pretty cool. I'll have to try some. I haven't ventured down that route, but
Oh,
I will now.
hook you up.
Yeah.
And from a Victorian point of view, the when winemakers like new school winemakers like yourself are doing Shiraz and Syrah on the same label, like in the same
Yep.
collection, but different bottles. The
Yep. Yep.
Syrah will almost be like pointed towards Pinot, where they're like,
Yep.
it's the same fruit, but we're doing a super light press. It comes out at 12%. It's like really easy. And then the Shiraz is like, no, we're doing this serious and we're giving it more time and more pressing and leave it to ripen. Whereas this is
Yep. Yep.
new for me. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating. I think like Syrah doesn't necessarily have to be made like Pinot as well. Like you can sort of, there's a lot of things you pick light, but then, inclusion of stems and still have like some density and some concentration there. But, you're lighter in alcohol, you're lighter in volume and body, but you still have those compounds across the palate that you're sort of looking for, I suppose, in wine. That a lot of people are. Yeah, not everyone, but a lot of people are. So there's a time and a place for those early pressed 12.5%ers when you sort of
Of course.
just out having a picnic and need to smack a wine down. But
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
that's it, one or three. But no, it's cool.
That is amazing. I'm curious. This is the big boy, is it?
Well, it's I reckon
Winter.
the Syrah might be slightly bigger, but this guy, so we got Cabernet Mataro Syrah here. Three of the biggest varietals in the Barossa, I guess. But the goal with this wine, and I suppose the goal with this blend, is to show diversity again across these varieties. Like they don't have to be huge. 100% whole berry. The Syrah component had a little bit of whole bunch in it though. But Cabernet Mataro 100% whole berry. Sort of really semi-carbonic in the ferment again, like light on the press. Light on the punch downs. Especially with the Mataro, like after as minimal sort of extraction as we can, like as soft and as gentle with that fruit as we can, because it can get quite gnarly. And we're picked quite early with the Mataro, and it does look green through its sort of growing period till the bome starts getting up and it starts getting a little jammier. But to sort of combat that, we're not after too much sort of skins expression from the variety, I guess. And this, for me, I think this wine's super pretty. For the three varieties that you see on the label, you just never expect it. I don't even think.
Oh.
I've showed it to a few people blind, and they honestly couldn't pick what it was. So,
Okay.
I just think it's cool. I think even Cabernet as a variety in the Barossa is super cool and diverse. Mataro much the same. They can be these big gnarly monsters, but they can also be these pretty sort of elegant, soft wines with a lot of structure and a lot of character. So these three put together, we basically basket pressed off to season oak, by all of our oak sort of ex winery. So pretty much after, if I could afford concrete, I would put them in concrete, but that might be a few years time. So all in old oak, and then basically we sit down once everything's through, and we have a look and we sort of start putting the blends together as such. So just trying to make wines that work in harmony, I guess.
Straight away, even while I was just smelling, when you said soft, I was like, that is the only word that's in my brain right now. Like you smell it and it's
Yeah.
like, wow, this feels like one of those really fleecy blankets that's like only like centimeters, like 2 millimeters, and you wrap.
Egyptian cotton. Yeah.
Why is it so warm and soft and amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cashmere, baby.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Um, absolutely love it. It's almost like the chalky mouth coating you get sort of once you've finished it as well is really cool. It's just such a nice, soft, plush feel, bit of crunch, bit of grit from taro that you're sort of expecting, and then you just get this sort of beautiful chalky tannin that I think just sits quite nice.
And compared to the Syrah, where the tannins were kind of up front and present and provided that like front palate structure, I feel like these ones are a little bit further back. It's quite easy drinking on the front of your palate.
Yep,
You
yep,
get that
definitely.
structure in the mid and the back. Oh, mmm.
Just so sort of unexpected, I feel, from from these three guys. Like, yeah, Mataro Cab Syrah basically in a blend together. You're thinking this is going to knock my socks off, but yeah, it's so fascinating just how diverse they can be.
Next. What's next for Chad and what's next for White Gate? Like what do you want to do in the next like 5 years?
23 worked with like a heap of new varieties, so that was really cool. Some new vineyards. Friend of mine's just took a lease on a pretty big block. He's taking organic. So we've got some new stuff coming in from there. We've got a pretty structured white red blend, light red, coming out later on this year, which is going to be really cool.
I love a light red.
Some changes to our white blend. Yeah, it's a pretty cool one too. So it's got more structure, super carbonic sort of style of light red. It's pretty kind of crunchy, but it's really cool. Really sort of, I don't know, summer picnic sort of vibe red. So that's going to be awesome. More about white blend. We've got some Viognier going in it this year, which is adding like a really nice sort of biscoffy vibe to it. So that's going to be awesome. Semillon, we did a bit more Amphora Sem this year, so it's always going to be a really sort of small quantity wine for us, but did a tiny bit more. Then through our reds, pulled in some like a new Neuro block we're working with, a new Grenache block. So playing around with some new stuff, which can be really cool. So grew in capacity by sort of probably 50%-ish, I suppose. A fair bit of wine coming in the door this coming year, but all the wines have been to date received really well, and we thought, it's time to sort of give it a bit of a go. So yeah, next 5 years, just moved into space for a winery, going to sort of start doing some little events out of it, which will lead into potentially another space where we'll be making wine in a couple of years, and potentially somewhere where we can sort of hold some stuff out of, I think would be definitely the goal. Just some couple of months would be pretty sweet, I think, and good fun. So sort of working on some stuff behind the scenes there to sort of involve more people. Should be really cool. With wine, I'd love to get more amphoras. I'd also love to get some concrete in the winery. So we're sort of working towards that. And that'll definitely take some time, but been in through this growth period, starting from like 1 ton and getting to sort of to where it is now. Just we'll try and get some consistency with everything, because it's sort of taking pretty scary bites. So you sort of get the business a little bit more consistent, and then hopefully we can use that to get things like these concrete vessels that I think will definitely add to the wines down the track. So yeah. Immediately we'll be working through the 23s and making sure they go quite well, hopefully, and then from there we'll use that to sort of hopefully build into the next few years, and definitely the distant dream is to have a little block here in the Barossa, and maybe somewhere to call home there, but till then we'll keep sort of plugging away as we're doing. Having our own space has been a massive change this year, and we did have our own space before, but like a legitimate sort of place that we can call a winery before we converted the shed to one, which was a big shed, but it's not as large as this one. So having space and height has been lovely. And as funny as it sounds, it's logistically has changed the game. It was just so much more streamlined. All the processing this year was far easier than what it's sort of been in the past. It's been very laboursome 4 years. So the body's looking forward to unwinding and relying on a forklift a little bit more. So yeah, it will keep sort of streamlining the winemaking process just to make things a bit easier on the body as well, to some degree, not to sort of to a major winery's degree. And keep having fun. I think that's sort of what it's all about. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. I reckon that's the chat.
Yep. No, it was good, mate. Thanks for trying them.
That's awesome.
I'm glad you like them all.